Yes. Thank you all for coming. My name is Greg Rohr. I'm the chair of the Lewis County Republican Party. Wanted to take a moment to have a little bit of a recognition for our nation. So if you wouldn't mind rising and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I think it's important as we begin these proceedings, first thank you all for taking the time from a Saturday morning to attend. This is an important part of all of us to, is that better? So, for all of us to take and recognize who we are and our nation in this time. I made a mistake because I didn't say pray before we went, so thank you for that sidetrack. So just remain seated. We'll just do that real quick. We need to start with that recognition. Father, we thank you for being here with us today, and I ask that you would watch over our hearts and our minds, and we help seek your face first when we come to making decisions about the leadership of this county. I thank you for these men that have come to stand as servants before you, and for this people that you have chosen to live in this county at this time. Help us to follow your will and your ways in making this decision, seeking to restore and not destroy this county and the people in it. We ask this in your name. Amen. Thank you for that. So, as we proceed, I wanted to cover a couple of quick things with you. Thank you to the candidates for attending today and for the time. They have a very busy schedule. They're always working on the candidate campaign or in their own jobs. This is not a full-time occupation for them. They have many other tasks to complete, and they continue to work for the betterment of our county. So thank you for going. I do need to make notice of filming and recording. Because this is a Republican meeting, there are only 3 people who have turned in the necessary paperwork to do any recording. So that would be the Phrase campaign, the Murphy campaign, and a Chronicle. All other recording, I'm asking that you do not use your phones for recording video or audio because that time for permission has passed. So do the best you can to remember what's going on. This will be put back out on the social media, so you're not losing an opportunity to see and hear and repeat this. It's just not going to be done with any benefit for those folks. Okay. The LCRP is holding this meeting as part of an effort to provide their precinct county officers and the community as a whole the information to make informed decisions. There will be uncomfortable questions today. Our job as a Republican Party is to ask those questions in order for all of us to have the best information to make the choice. They're not going to be uncomfortable for any one candidate. They'll be uncomfortable for all candidates. We have to ask these questions if we're asking for honest responses, and we can then make a better decision. If we don't ask those questions, then we will not be doing our job as a Republican Party to properly determine who the best candidate is. I am not in a position, nor will our party or e-board be in a position to tell you how to vote at any time. We are here to allow you to make your own decisions, to form those based on information and facts that you have gathered from whatever sources you choose. I recently put an article out talking about truth and the importance of it, that we serve truth first rather than people or other factions. When we serve truth first, factions disappear. When we serve people first, we tribal out and we have problems. So that's an important thing for us to remember and check our own heart as we go through today's event. I have talked to a great number of people in this community, so the questions that I'll be presenting are not necessarily mine. They're representative of those conversations I've had with a very large group of people in our community. So these are people who are on both sides of the aisle. They're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're Libertarians, they're Independents, because they all have a part of this race. This primary is about our Republican Party, but it also serves our greater community, because once this person is elected as sheriff, they serve all people in this county. So So these questions today are reflective of that. I again like to thank all of the candidates for their attention and to the questions as they're being asked. We have already drawn, just so you know how this is worked and set up, for the order of the response for their questions. They'll be sharing a microphone. We're going to go for about an hour and a half. At 11:30, we're going to look at the clock and turn it off at that point. I have about 11 questions that I formed that they will be responding to in the order of their drawing. Once that time frame is up, we will open up questions to the audience. If you have questions, what I would like for you to do is go to the back table. There will be placards where you can write them down. You can write those questions down and then turn them in to my wife, Beth. Is she there? Or Katie? Raise your hand. And they will bring them up to the front up here for us to look at. And that's how we'll handle this. As far as decorum goes, we want everybody to be as engaged in this candidacy as possible, these campaigns. But I ask today that you do not reference individual people. As far as derogatory remarks, you have concerns, you hold them, and if you feel like you have to say something, go talk to the tree outside. You can stand up and ask a civil question in this building. Anything beyond that, I, with the help of other people in this room, will ask you to leave if it's a continued behavior. So I expect decorum. We will hold you to that, and from there, we're ready to move forward. I need to introduce our panelists up here. We have Aaron Fuller, who's the Secretary of the Republican Party. He's our official timer. Colonel Ron Averill is a parliamentarian that keeps me and everyone else attached, and I'll be the moderator today. So thank you, gentlemen, for coming. With that, the order that was drawn for presentation, Gabriel Fraze, you will be speaking first in this first question. Tracy Murphy will be the second to respond. Danny Reardon will then respond third. Matt McKnight will respond fourth to each of these questions. At the end of this, they will then have an opportunity at any time to get to have 2 rebuttals or disagreements with any questions or information presented. They get to choose when and if to use it during the course of this time frame. The rebuttal is referenced, they're allowed to direct their questions of rebuttal back to anybody on the candidate panel up front. The person they disagree with will then have 1 minute to respond to that. So they have 1 minute to rebut a discussion or a point, and then the person they have the disagreement with has 1 minute to respond to it. Does everybody understand general rules of that? Okay. They're going to get 3 minutes of introduction each. We've covered this with the candidates already. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to a question. The timekeeper will signal with 30 seconds remains. He's got a placard to do that. He's got 1 minute and 3 minute placards to notify the candidates when their time is coming to a close. A 30-second reminder will be issued. The response format, each candidate will have 2 minutes. The timekeeper will signal. The initial random drawing we talked about already, and I think we're good to go. 2 rebuttals we talked about. Does everybody understand up at the front? And does everybody understand what the process is for this? So they get an opportunity to disagree with other candidates. And they get to disagree for 1 minute, and the candidate they disagree with gets a minute response back to that. And so the timekeeper will track that as well. Okay, audience questions, we covered that. I think we're ready to go. Okay, are we ready to begin? So, yes, please make sure your microphones are on.
Test. Okay.
You can stand or sit, or it's up to you. Okay, question number 1. Compare the Centralia or Chehalis police departments. Opening statements. Go ahead, sorry.
Good evening, or correction, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gabriel Fraze. I'm one of the candidates for Lewis County Sheriff. I know there's not a lot of time, so I'm just going to quickly jump into my qualifications and to something about me. So I am a lifelong resident of Lewis County. I was born in Olympia, but lived my entire life in Alaska, Washington, minus my 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I attended Onalaska Elementary and Middle School before then transferring to Napavine Christian School in Napavine where I graduated. After school, I joined the United States Marine Corps where I spent 4 years stationed in Twin Nine Palms, California, which is in the Mojave Desert, as a 0352, which is a tow gunner, anti-tank missileman. During my last year, I was actually pulled into battalion legal because they needed somebody they could trust to go ahead and work with the battalion commander and company commanders, basically doing paperwork related to discipline when Marines acted up. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I came back here and was fortunate enough to be hired by then Sheriff John McCroskey as a deputy with the Lewis County Sheriff's Office, and I've been here for 24 years. During that time, I've been a patrol deputy, field training officer, search and rescue coordinator, go for purpose canine officer, handler, detective sergeant, patrol sergeant, and I'm now the special services chief. So as a special services chief, I have the great pleasure of working with a number of great staff within our agency that do all sorts of support work, including records, detectives, and all sorts of other things. I personally believe that my experience within all these different areas within the Sheriff's Office would be a great benefit and would credit the agency and would make me a wonderful sheriff. Now, one of the things that I do, people that know me understand that I'm not somebody that likes to toot my own horn. This is very difficult up here to actually say these things. Anyway, that's just where I'm at. I think that if you actually look at my record and look at the fact that I have good common sense and good judgment and decision making, and just my record throughout the last 24 years, and frankly even prior to that, you would find that I am a very good candidate for Lewis County Sheriff. So there are certain things that have happened within our agency within the last few years that I don't always agree with. Some people say, guess what, you're all in the admin. It's all your fault. Well, guess what? Our job in the administration is to advise the sheriff, is to, guess what? This is what our thoughts are. In the end, the sheriff makes the ultimate decision. The sheriff is the one that's going to have to decide, what they want to do. It may be something that we don't agree with, but behind the scenes, we are free to completely disagree, to speak our mind, but in public, guess what? We have to have a united front. So again, when people accuse us, whether it's the undersheriff or myself or whatever, you're all part of the same, just understand, we do have open dialogue behind the scenes. We may not agree with the ultimate decision, but guess what? Having people that are allowed to disagree, you're going to come up with a better decision in the end. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
Well, good morning. Thank you all for being here. I know that there's plenty of other things we could be doing on a Saturday morning with beautiful weather outside. One of them is on the tractor mowing. But I do appreciate you all coming in. I think it's very important for our civic duties to participate in this process. My name is Tracy Murphy. I've been born and raised here in Lewis County. I started my career in law enforcement at the age of 16 as a police cadet with Centralia Police Department. Since that time, I have rose through the ranks. I got hired at 20 years old, actually starting my full-time law enforcement career at 21 years old. I am now 52. Can you imagine I made it that far? This is where my home is. This is where my family is. I've raised 5 children here in Lewis County. My youngest just graduated high school this year, so I'm very happy about that. They talk about empty nesters, but I know that that's never going to happen. My house is always open. I want my family to stay close, so if they don't want to go away, then I'm totally fine with that. I've got a very supportive wife. It's nice to know that as tough as law enforcement is, that you have the support at home, and that she understands what kind of impact and the sacrifices that happen to people in law enforcement. So I've had over 3 decades in law enforcement. My last job, up until I got terminated from Centralia Police Department, I'm sure that we'll be talking about that tonight, was the supervisor of the Joint Narcotics Enforcement Team, but I was also the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, group supervisor for the DEA task force. And I have been in that position since 2024. I've been in the drug unit, supervising the drug unit since January of 2019. So I have extensive experience with one of the main problems that we have in this county, and that's the drug problem. I'm running for sheriff because I think that it's important that the people of Lewis County be safe, feel safe, free from the tyranny of our government, but free from those who want to commit crimes against us. So holding people accountable is one of those things that are very, very important to me. The office of sheriff is the most important office that we have because that office is there to hold people accountable. I'm a big believer in the Constitution and the rule of law. I think it applies to everyone equally, regardless of who you are. I believe in the God of the Bible, and I believe in Jesus Christ and what he did for me. Those are my foundational principles, and that's what guides me in my everyday life. So thank you, and you'll hear more. 3 minutes, just not enough.
Good morning. My name is Danny Reardon. I'm currently your East End deputy. I work at night. So right now I'm supposed to be asleep. So I apologize if I start rambling a little bit. Plus I have ADHD, so I get a little hyper sometimes. I have been with the Sheriff's Office since 2002. Previously, I was hired with Elma Police Department in 1999. Before that, I was with the Little Rock Fire Rescue. I was a firefighter EMT. I love that job, but it just wasn't right for me because I do have ADHD. I have to go, go, go. So my 24-hour shifts were 22 hours of awake and then tried to get 2 hours of sleep before my shift was over. So I came over to Elma Police Department. There, I spent 2 years with Chief Axman. I enjoyed my time there, but the pool was kind of small and I wanted a bigger agency to work for. So I was actually working out in Olympia with a guy named John Snaza at the gym, and he's like, hey, you want some place to go that's fun? It's Lewis County. And I'm like, well, my grandparents live in Lewis County. I love playing out in the creek. I used to go out there all the time when I was a kid. So I came down and applied for Lewis County. Got hired on, and which was kind of also interesting because his twin brother, who I did not know, was sitting on my oral board. And so it was very difficult for me to sit there and listen to Rob because it sounded like John, and I'm so used to just joking around with him. So after giggling on that one, they kind of said, okay, we understand. So my time here in Lewis County has been something to where I fell in love with the county and the people. And I mean everybody. Even the people that I arrest, because I've now arrested the grandpa, the dad, and the sons and daughters. I mean, I've gone through this whole generation of arresting people. And the one thing that even those people know is I'm hard, but I'm fair. And I can also treat them as if they're a victim, that I will go out and work for them. Because to me, and I wish Fred Wessel was here, he has always said, you work as hard as you can for the bad guy who's the victim as you do for the grandma who's the victim. So I just got the card already, and I'm like, oh, I'm not even halfway through this. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my time here. I am a warrior. I am a passionate person. I am not a person that sits behind the desk and just relegates things out to people. I have to lead, and I believe in the people here at our agency. If I take care of the people that work the road, work in the office, and work in the corrections, they're going to take care of everybody else. Our mission will get fulfilled. So I have a list of what I've done in my career. You can go on my website. I have building blocks. Don't want to be a block. But I have 4 building blocks that have a list of what we're going to change. And most of that stuff we can change on January 1st of 2027. My passion is for this community, protecting you and protecting the people that I work for, and educating when we need to educate and stand in front of anything, good and bad. And I got the hands.
Good morning. First of all, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for coming. This is what democracy is about. It's an opportunity to come and listen to us, and then hopefully, when it comes to the primary, you'll look at 4 names on the ballot. You'll have to make a very difficult decision, and you'll pick my name. But hopefully it's a difficult decision either way. So first of all, I want to let you know that I'm a Lewis County resident. I'm 4th generation Lewis County resident. Grew up in Winlock. That's where my family homesteaded. My wife's my high school sweetheart. We got married shortly after high school. Started having children right after we got married. they're really the treasures in my life. Out of everything that I've accomplished, which I think is quite a bit, my wife and my kids are really the most important things to me. My oldest boy, he's working at the hospital right now. My middle boy just got back from his mission. We're happy to have him back. My daughter is getting married here this summer. She's 18, and you can't tell an 18-year-old what to do, and you can't really tell her that it's a bad idea to get married at 18 when you did the same thing. So she's found herself a really great guy. I'm happy to have him as part of our life. I look forward to being able to call him my son in the near future. So law enforcement. I got into law enforcement when I was 22 years old. I wanted to be a cop since I was in 6th grade. It was my calling. It's what I felt I needed to do. It takes a little time to get there, so I went through school and eventually got to join law enforcement. Got hired at the sheriff's office. Spent 6 years there, mostly stationed in East Lewis County. I live in Morton now. It is beautiful out there. There's nothing like East Lewis County. I love the rest of the county too, but East Lewis County has become my home. So after that, I went to Chehalis. I've worked at Chehalis for about 14 years now. Shortly after transferring over to Chehalis, I got promoted to a patrol sergeant. Before that, I served as a trainer, so I was entrusted with training our newest officers on how to become cops. I was entrusted with training them how to use defensive tactics appropriately. I was a taser instructor. I was on our honor guard team. I'm a member of our peer support team. I was voted our guild vice president and then our guild president. I have the trust of my agency to teach people and to move forward with our agency with different things. So eventually I became the deputy chief. As the deputy chief and the second in command of the department, all major decisions flow through my office. People we hire, people we discipline, policies we make, and things we change. So, what am I going to do for the sheriff's office? We need to bring our accreditation standards back. We need to make sure that we meet accreditation, and I can do that because I've done it. We did it at Chehalis. We became an accredited agency. It's a difficult process. It takes 3 years, but it's important to make sure that we do the right policies and procedures to make sure that we have our people doing what they need to do so we don't get sued. We need to bring back our volunteer program that's gone, and we need to collaborate better with other agencies. There's no reason why we should have ever been removed from JNET. There's no reason why we should have ever been taken out of the regional SWAT team. We need to bring those back and work together with those agencies so we can make you safer without costing us more money.
Thank you. With those introductions concluded, we're now going to begin the questioning. So the first responder will be candidate Fraze, followed by Murphy, Reardon, and White in that order to the remaining part. That order will progress. Question number 1. Compare the Centralia or Chehalis police departments with the Lewis County Sheriff's Office. From an administrative point of view, how are things alike and how are they different?
Okay, when it comes to law enforcement, again, the different the municipal police departments obviously share the law enforcement task with the sheriff's office. We all respond for calls for service. We all handle 911 calls. We all investigate crimes. We all, serve the community in that way. The sheriff's office has so many additional responsibilities that a municipal agency does not have. The sheriff's office has to go ahead and manage the jail. The jail is a huge part of the sheriff's office budget. It is, and there's a whole lot of mandates by the state and federal government on the ways we have to use money and things we have to fund. So one of our large budgetary items happens to be medical within the jail. In addition to the jail, you also have civil. Civil is a function that is only directed at the sheriff's office. You could have a civil function which is going to occur in the city limits of Chehalis or the city limits of Centralia, but it is still the sheriff's office that actually has to do it. So if somebody goes and they're having problems with the renter, and they jump through all the terrible, long, process that the state has required them to do to get a writ of restitution, to actually lawfully evict somebody, it is that process goes to the sheriff's office, and that is actually one of the things that myself in my current position am responsible for doing. I'm going along with serving those civil functions. The sheriff is the only entity, the only law enforcement entity within the county that is required to hold a bond, and that bond is because of how high the liability is for those civil functions. So I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's like comparing apples to oranges. The sheriff's office is apples, the municipal PDs are oranges. They are, no one is better than the other, but they have completely drastic responsibilities with the exception of the control function. Thank you.
Gosh, I hate that time thing. All right, let's get to it. So the most important thing to realize about any law enforcement in the state of Washington is we're all bound by the same oath: to uphold and enforce the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Washington. That's across the board. That doesn't change with a city agency or a county agency. The most important thing to realize about the administrative side, city law enforcement, a chief of police, is an appointed position, and that chief is appointed by your elected legislative branch, by your city council members. So they're basically kind of controlled with what the legislative branch wants them to do. This is why the office of sheriff is the most important. The only person or people that the sheriff answers to is the people that elect him or her to the office of sheriff. So they're not bound by policies that the legislative body imposes and wants the chief of police to do, because they answer to the people, and they solely focus on the oath of office to uphold and enforce the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Washington. So that's why it's very important, and that's a very important distinction that a lot of people don't realize, that the power that the people have to elect their sheriff and put him in that position is to keep them safe. Safe from policies that other electeds that shouldn't be interfering in the law enforcement side try to. I mean, we see that in Washington, up in Olympia all the time, with our legislative branch trying to enact laws that are unconstitutional and taking away powers from the sheriff. So it's very important that people be engaged in that. So law enforcement is law enforcement. The goal is to keep us safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If at any time you need me to repeat the questions, please feel free to ask. Candidate clearly.
Thank you. So, the distinction between city and sheriff, and Murphy hit it directly on the head. No matter what, we all are out there for law enforcement to protect the citizens and provide a safe environment for you. That's our true goal. Everybody does that. What the sheriff does is we have the civil side, we have the correction side, we have those people that we have to take care of in that house, because we have to give them a proper place to live while we're educating them not to ever come back. Big thing for us as a sheriff, and this is what Murphy talked about, is we are your last line of defense. We work for you, you vote for us, that's it. We work under Washington State Constitution, that's where we get our oath from, and we have the supreme law, which is the U.S. Constitution. Those amendments, the Bill of Rights, is what we defend no matter what. If something encroaches in that, and that goes for both sides or all people in here. You may not like what somebody's saying out there on the road with their picket signs. They have the right to do that, and we will defend their right to do that just as much as we'll defend your right to do what you need to do. So your last line of defense is your sheriff, pure and simple. Somebody wants to do something wrong, your sheriffs are going to be the ones that are going to come together and fight it, just like we did with the sheriff bill. We actually came together as multiple sheriffs and fought that and got the bill itself pretty much quashed at this point. So it is your last line of defense.
Thank you. Candidate Knight.
So what these gentlemen said is accurate, but from what I remember from the question, it was asking about the administrative differences between the agencies. So budgets are budgets generally. I manage right now a multi-million-dollar budget. The sheriff's office budget for real numbers is $20 million. Half of that, $10 million, is going to the jail, with a much higher liability percentage in the jail than is on patrol. Most people don't realize that because they don't see it. You see what happens on the road, you see those body camera videos, that's what makes the news, but most of your liability is actually in the jail. Our civil division is also another section that a city municipality doesn't have. What Gabe said is accurate. That is a very important function of the sheriff's office, but it's another division. You've got the three different portions of the sheriff's office. We have a jail, we have patrol, and we have the civil division. Chehalis, we have patrol, and this quasi-civil division. It's mostly my record staff, and we don't serve writs like the sheriff's office does. But when it comes down to it, administration is about leadership. It's about leading people. And leading people is a universal principle. If you can lead a small group of people, you can lead a large group of people on a bigger scale. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people in your administration to help you make the right decisions to help the agency move forward. That's a universal principle, whether it's in a city or whether it's in the county.
Thank you. We're now progressing where candidate Murphy will be the first respondent, and then we'll continue in this order with Gabe following the last. Nice. The Aaron Christensen case divided the community. What mistakes may have occurred and what steps going forward as an administrator may help the investigation process and final reports.
So I think that the first issue that we need to look at is having proper staffing. So we need to have adequate staffing to be able to cover the entire county. And when we have staffing, we need to provide the proper supervision. So you've got one supervisor and 4 to 5 deputies working the entire county, which is 2,400 square miles. So we do see a failure in this case because you don't have a supervisor that was able to be the scene to make sure that the scene was processed and investigated correctly. All crime starts with the scene, and we have to gather evidence to identify suspects and to provide evidence for the case when it goes to court. That all starts at the scene, the physical evidence that's there. And so there was a failure of gathering physical evidence at that scene. You didn't have a supervisor on scene. You had a deputy that was trying to make the decisions and relaying the information by phone, which we know cell phone coverage is not that great. So everything doesn't get told to the supervisor. So we have to be able to get our staffing levels up to where we have the proper supervision on both the east and the west side of the county, and we have enough people to do the investigation. It's a death investigation. Detectives should have been called out to the scene. Detectives weren't called out to the scene. So it's the fruits of the poisonous tree. If the initial investigation and the gathering of the evidence was faulty, everything that comes along after that is faulty. So we have to focus on the initial contact. Thorough, timely, complete investigations need to be done, and that's through proper training, giving the tools, training, resources, supervision, and mentoring to our deputies out there doing the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Burden.
So I was a major crimes detective for the sheriff's office for approximately 7 years, I believe is what it was. The Aaron Christensen case was one of the ones where I actually sat back because I was a deputy at this point, and I couldn't understand how so much went wrong so quick. And we had so many opportunities to fix it as the sheriff's office through a process there. When it finally got to the detectives, they did the best that they could with what they had. Again, as an investigator, you have this situation where, I mean, it's obvious there was some reason why a younger male subject was deceased, and his dog, right there is red flags. And I don't understand why we didn't trip those wires that we've always had in place. Then once we get a confession, it was manslaughter at least. So we should have looked at that point, which we do. That's what we did in the previous times. There was so much wrong from that point that it continued just to go down. And every person in that case who was outside of us too, other agencies, has a part in the failure. And I think the real big problem for us was the fact that we didn't provide the product, the investigation for Jonathan Meyer to actually run with it. And again, I don't know if people got upset and they started using their positions or what, but the big failure was to Aaron and Buzzo. So again, it's not something that I've ever seen. We had a case like this previously before I was here, Rhonda Reynolds. We had a certain thing that we did as deputy investigators that would trip off detectives coming. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, it just didn't happen that time. And it was one of those cases where we should have owned it from the get-go, our mistakes at the sheriff's office. That would allow other people to own their mistakes and move on. So,
Thank you.
Aaron Christensen case, I get asked this one pretty frequently, and here's the truth of the matter. That case isn't accessible to me. I can only view what's publicly accessible. If I were to go and look at that case in my position, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to look at random cases just because I want to. So I don't have all the details on it. I just have the same thing that most of you have, which is of what's available in the media. I can tell you this, there's parts of it that don't look good. There's parts of it that really don't look good. And my dedication, my promise to you is that as sheriff, I will look at that case. We'll look at it again. I can't promise you that anything can be done with it. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. And I won't stand up here and lie to you and tell you that I'm going to do something I can't. But I can tell you that we'll look at it again. And then we'll look at what went right and what went wrong, which is what we should do on every case we do. We should always be looking at what we did well and what we can improve on, and then we should implement that. If there's training problems, we should train better. If there's problems with how our officers handle things and we have to hold them accountable, then we have to do that. That's why it's important that we have accreditation standards to make sure that we're doing things the right way, to make sure that when cases like this come up, we have a policy and procedure in place, people with the proper training to get the job done. So that's my promise to you, is that I will look at that case again, and we'll see what we did there and if we can make it better.
Thank you. And please.
Just since it's been like 3 people, would you mind restating the question for me?
Absolutely. The Aaron Christensen case divided the community. What mistakes may have occurred and what steps going forward as an administrator may help the investigation processes and final reports.
Okay, so it has been crystal clear from the very beginning of that case that the initial response was not appropriate. I can guarantee that very few, if any, people within the sheriff's office were happy with how the initial responder that showed up on scene, the decisions that they made. As another candidate mentioned, when you have a deceased person and a deceased animal together, that just doesn't happen. There's some outward, force, whether it's a human being or whether if it's inside, it'd be carbon monoxide. I mean, there's some reason these two happen to perish at the same time. So that should have been clue number 1. So in that particular case, a detective had been dispatched. They were on the way when the deputy called them off, basically letting them know, or telling them that, hey, the details that we have or that we originally given are not as I discovered them. So unfortunately, if that detective would have continued, we probably wouldn't be in the same situation we are today. I'm not blaming that detective because he was trusting the deputy on scene. So one of the things that we need to do, and think of after the fact, we need to make a determination, is this the first responder, were they being lazy, or is it a training issue? Is it something that, guess what, they truly thought that they were doing the right thing, or was it just, guess what, I don't see anything obvious, so I want to get out of here. I'm umpteen miles up a Forest Service hiking trail. I'm tired because I'm out of shape, and I just want to be done for the night. So we need to figure out what that is, and if it has to do with training, we want to stop it from happening in the future, so we want to make sure everybody has the appropriate training so that we don't make that mistake again. Unfortunately, we can't go back, but all we can do is train for the future.
Thank you. Thank you. This will now be Candidate Reardon.
Yes, sir.
Did you want to use your rebuttal at this point, Mr. Murphy?
Well, yeah, I do have one question.
This is your rebuttal. This is your first one.
So, with the Aaron Christensen case, what is going forward, since you're in charge of detectives now? What are you doing to bring justice to the family to right those wrongs that have happened? And what have you done to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
We'll start with the training. Again, after this happened, where the detectives were called off, it's been very clear with all the deputies, we're erring on the side of caution even more. When in doubt, when there's a death, you call about anything that is not absolutely 100% obvious. This is not a 95-year-old person with extensive medical history. Everything is going through the chain of command, going up through the supervisor, up to the captain, and the captain a lot of times is then going from there and calling us. Now jumping back to what are we doing in this case? When you actually look at the case, minus the fact that you had the bad initial response, everything else points to, guess what, the person that did come forward, what they say happened, all the rest of the evidence points to that. It points to them, unfortunately, discharging a firearm when they heard a sound, and that the bullet went through the dog into the subject. And unfortunately, it's still questionable based on the autopsy whether the subject was already deceased at the time, or whether that bullet actually caused his death.
Thank you. Danny Reardon, did you have a rebuttal, or are you ready for a question?
Nope, rebuttal. Deputy Reardon with the Sheriff's Office. Nothing's changed since the Aaron Christensen thing. No one has come to patrol and said, hey, this is what's going to happen. We've done that ourselves. I've communicated that from my past training as a detective. Unfortunately, we have not had that pushed down to us. If it has, it didn't reach me. So, and again, I'm out in the East End, so sometimes I don't get to talk to my sergeant too much. But again, it hasn't been reached out to us. This kind of got shoved to the back, and it's kind of one of those things where we're going to deal with, like the Ronald Reynolds. We're going to have this inquest down 10 years from now, and they're going to review it, and that's where we're going to be at. As of right now, nothing has changed.
1 minute response.
Okay. Unfortunately, I know that Deputy Reardon is talking about what he may know firsthand. I know that in our sergeants' meetings, we make it clear with the sergeants, anytime that there's a death investigation, they are supposed to be notified, and they are the ones that pass that information up and that have that communication. So the decision is made between the sergeants and the captain and those above when there's a situation where we need to, figure out if we need detectives to respond. So I can understand that he may not understand, Deputy Reardon may not understand every time that we are called, but again, we are notified and the decision is made based on the circumstances and based on what evidence we have as to whether or not a natural death occurred, an accidental death occurred, or something more serious.
Thank you. Any others? Just checking. Okay. Danny, you're up next then?
Okay.
And then I'll be followed by Mr. McKnight.
Let's go, Greg.
Okay. Question 3. There is an incident response involving both city police and sheriffs. Discuss who is in charge and how jurisdictional authority is determined, and how does billing work between these jurisdictions.
So we're talking like a major crime incident?
You can pick whatever
Okay,
scenario.
so major crime incident, if it happens in the city's going to be in charge unless,
Oh,
sorry, I'm terrible about that. If it's in the city has first right to refuse. That means that they are in charge, and if they don't want it, if they don't have the capacity at that time, then the sheriff's office will take over. Just like if we deal with state patrol, they have the first right to refusal. You guys didn't have to deal with it. I'm rushing. So so it's the first right of refusal is that agency's jurisdiction where the incident actually occurred. If we have the training and the knowledge for the incident, whoever's primary on that, we do have a CERT team which is capable of handling some emergencies. They're not qualified for the SWAT entries and things like that, but we do have a CERT team that's out there that's trained to actually handle things. So it just depends on who's there, and truly, if it's city and the sheriff's office, it's a mutual thing. It's not just going to be, hey, it's the sheriff's jurisdiction and we're going to handle this way. It's when Matt shows up. Matt was on my OIS. He came and helped me through that shooting. So it's not just, it's a team. No matter what, together, I always say this, together we win. And so we can't look at, hey, I'm hierarchy, I'm the sheriff, this, and this. It's a teamwork. It's to solve the situation and provide the best security for the citizens out there. Billing-wise, I don't see if it's a major incident, we're going to be billing the city for their assistance, and hopefully the city doesn't bill us for the assistance. We're going to take our own piece of the pie, and that's how we usually do things.
Thank you. Mr. McKnight?
Yeah, when push comes to shove, the sheriff has jurisdiction over the entire county. Now, typically, agencies that have their own police departments will take the lead on those things. And that's not because we don't want the sheriff to do it. Honestly, it'd be better if they came in and took it from us, because I don't have to stand there for 16 hours on a barricade subject. But that's not how it works. Typically, they defer to the city agencies because we have the knowledge of the area. We know who we're dealing with. We've been set up. We're ready to go. We know what's going on in that particular area. So when the incident happens, billing is the last thing on any of our minds. Our job is to go in there and make the community safe, regardless of who shows up. We had an incident at WF West where they called in a hoax active shooter threat. People from all over the area came in, from Fish and Wildlife, State Patrol, Centralia, Chehalis, DOC, it didn't matter. We all came because when push comes to shove, it's our job to take care of you, the community. As far as billing goes, I have never sent a bill to the sheriff's office for us going out and helping them. I've never seen a bill come from them for us helping them. Smaller agencies might be a little bit different because they have contracts with the sheriff's office. But at the same time, if you don't have a contract like PL and you call the sheriff's office, they're going to come, regardless of the billing. The billing's the last thing on everybody's mind. We got to keep people safe. That's the most important part of it. We work well together for the most part.
Thank you.
So anytime there's a call for service, 911 call, whatever, usually the primary jurisdiction takes command. And when I say that, even if multiple people respond. So if this happened in the city of Centralia or the city of Chehalis, the city of Winlock, for most cases, if they need assistance, the sheriff's office will respond as well to assist, but it will still be their primary responsibility to actually do the investigation, to make the physical arrest, so on and so forth. Now, there are certain circumstances where, specifically not with Centralia and Chehalis, because they're large enough that they have the resources to normally handle the ongoing investigation themselves. But it's like, let's use Winlock, for example. A couple of years ago, there was an unfortunate thing on Byham Road where a couple people were murdered. Once they discovered that this had happened, they actually reached out to us and said, hey, can you assist us? By all means. We understand that you literally have 3 officers total and with very little investigative experience. And we were able to go ahead and have our detectives respond and process the scene with them. In other words, we wanted to keep them involved as much as they were comfortable being involved. But at the same time, we were going to make sure that the citizens of Winlock, who are within Lewis County, had the best service possible. And in the end, we're not all here just to bill them. It's, what can we do to serve the entire Lewis County? So, like they mentioned before, there is a difference between the capabilities of a small jurisdiction versus Centralia and Chehalis. But most of the time, the city takes, if it's in their jurisdiction, they take control. Otherwise, we will assist them. Now, the one exception would be is if we happen to be with them and there's an agency that's not doing something that's required by law. We have had a few times with a couple of small towns where we have had to step up and say, you're not making arrests. If you're not, guess what? By law, you're supposed to, so I'm going to do it for you.
Thank you. Tracy.
Hey, I was waiting. I did. So we have a lot of memorandums of understandings with other agencies and mutual aid agreements. And the reason why we do that is because there's only so many law enforcement working at any one time. So when there's a major incident, though if it's Centralia or Chehalis that's inside the city limits of their jurisdiction, they would take primary authority and control over the scene. Then we would request mutual aid to have deputies with the sheriff's office, any other resources that are needed come to assist them with their detail, with their incident. If they're not capable of handling it, that's where the sheriff has to have the tools, training, experience to be able to handle everything that happens. They need to be the primary, the most professional agency in the county, because ultimately the responsibility to keep us safe and investigate crimes is the sheriff's office. So as long as these cities have the capabilities and ability to do that, then we assist each other. It's when they don't that we step in and we offer them the assistance to make sure that the service that we're giving to the people is the right service. It's the professional service that's needed. Canine, not all agencies have canines. Centralia, Chehalis, well, Chehalis used to. Centralia and the sheriff's office has a canine unit. Mutual aid agreement. If there's a Centralia dog working, needs to go out in the county, then we go out and deploy to try to apprehend that suspect. There is no charge. The reason why these mutual aid agreements are actually important is because it's that quid pro quo. We help you when we need help, or when you need help, you help us when you need help. So.
Thank you. Candidate McKnight. I'm checking to see if there's no others. Okay. Question number 4. There have been allegations made that there are Republican leaders, law enforcement leaders, or community leaders in Lewis County that sold cocaine, stole evidence, or tampered with witnesses. What were the due process procedures and where they followed in the findings of the Centralia Police Department, and briefly discuss the guarantee warnings and departmental protocols required of law enforcement to follow this.
That's a long question. Part of the challenge with it is we don't have everything that's publicly available. So I can comment on what I've read, but I'm going to have to put a disclaimer that I haven't read all of the documents because they're not available to us. Do I believe that there are people who sell cocaine in Lewis County? Yeah. Do I think that people listed were involved in that? I haven't seen any direct evidence that says that. Does that mean it's possible? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means I haven't seen anything that says that happens. I can tell you that if you've investigated it for a long time and you haven't got enough evidence to arrest somebody, maybe it's not going on. So as far as the due process for the investigation, every union contract is different. I helped draft our discipline language for Chehalis. I can tell you what it says. And from if I were to compare that to what happened in the Murphy documents that I read, they followed what our contract would have said for them to do a due process investigation. As far as the decision that was made, I'm not going to comment on the decision another chief made. If he made a decision, he researched it well, he went and talked to outside attorneys, and he made a decision. And that's just the way it is. It'll work its way through the process. Employment decisions are different than court proceedings. I think that's important to remember. Employment decisions is not a court proceeding. That'll happen later. Hopefully, it gets pushed and it's not a year or two before we get a decision. Hopefully, everybody applies and moves it fast so we can get through the process quickly.
Okay, concerning the allegation that there are people within our county, obviously there are people that do drugs, people that sell drugs, but the certain individuals that were named, including our current sheriff and some other politicians and other supporters of some of those people, were accused of selling cocaine specifically. I have not, again, like I believe was McKnight said, I have not seen any evidence whatsoever. Am I saying that it doesn't exist, that it didn't happen, or that it did happen? Without evidence, I can't give you an answer, because everything we do, every decision we make, has to be based on actual evidence we see. And if I don't have that, I can't tell you one way or the other. So now, as far as the investigation in Centralia, I have read the documents that were created by the public safety testing, the investigator done through him. I've read the memo report, whatever you want to call it, done by Chief Andy Caldwell, and I've read the rebuttal or by Mr. Murphy. In reading all those things, I personally have the belief that the investigation on their end was done appropriately. It's done the same way that we would have done it within our office. We had somebody outside, they requested an outside entity do the investigation, ask questions, order the person to cooperate and to answer the questions truthfully. And then unfortunately in the end, the investigator came to the conclusion that they were being lied to, that the information they were provided was not accurate. And then I hear, reading Chief Caldwell's, I know that he was put in a very difficult situation. There's no way that he would want to be dealing with this, period, much less during a time when he knows that the person that's being investigated is running for political office. So I personally have complete faith in his decision, and that there's no way he would have put the person on admin leave and then fired him unless he was very certain that the evidence existed and was accurate.
Oh boy, this is going to be a long one. So let me talk about due process. Part of the due process is the grievance process, because that's where an outside independent reviewer of facts makes the final decision. So due process is still going through. So to jump ahead and say everything that Andy Caldwell has presented is the truth about it. One of the big issues between my first interview and my second interview, during the first interview, the definition of my dual authority was what I was operating under. As a employee with the City of Centralia, I have to answer City of Centralia stuff. City of Centralia stuff has to do with JNET, the Joint Narcotics Enforcement Team. That information is controlled by the City of Centralia, who was doing the internal. So I could talk freely about that information. However, because I'm also a task force officer with the DEA and a group supervisor with the DEA, any information that falls under the authority of the DEA through their investigations, I have to have authority from the DEA to be able to release that. When you have an independent, non-law enforcement, civilian investigator, we're not allowed to just disclose information to non-law enforcement. So there's a lot of issues with the investigation itself. So during the first interview, it was very clear that there was a distinction on my part between DEA information and City of Centralia information, JNet information. At the start of the second interview, before it was on recording, the investigator changed the definition of JNet. He now combined JNet to, JNet means the DEA task force, everybody working in the JNet office, as well as JNet. So now the definition changed. Well, when the definition changes, you can ask the same question here on the first interview, and you get an answer. But now you change the definition and add, now we want all DEA cases as well. That changes the definition, changes the response. So it's not a lie.
I'm giving him my time. Go ahead. Finish.
No, he's done.
I was gonna give him my time.
Oh, you're gonna give him.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him my time so he can finish.
So, thanks, Danny, I appreciate that. Because it's very important to understand that words matter. And when you're in an investigation, you're told, answer the questions as asked. And because I have the dual authority, and I can be held criminally liable federally and go to jail for releasing federal information without prior authorization. Because I was on this gag order, I was never allowed the opportunity to contact the DEA and tell them my concerns. All that was funneled through Andy Caldwell, who I thought had been sharing my concerns and the information with DEA. As it comes out, that did not happen. So now everybody's looking at me saying I lied. No, I did not. I answered the questions as asked based on the understanding. The investigator even told me that if he needed clarification, he'd call me back for a second interview. During the second interview, when they're presenting before me DEA case information that they should not have accessed, because the City of Centralia does not have the authority to give out DEA protected information. Two different hats I wear. So when that information gets presented, I have the investigator get Andy Caldwell come up to the room and actually order me to answer those questions because I told him my concerns of violating federal law and ruining a partnership that the City of Centralia has with the DEA, which is in violation of our mission statement. We don't do that. That's not the right thing to do. So once he gave me that clarification, said no, answer the questions, I believe he had already talked to the DEA about my concerns, and I was okay to now talk about everything. So I shared every little bit of information that they asked, that they wanted to know in the second interview, but I got terminated because of a definition that was never addressed. The definition changed, and I'm trying to protect people by not sharing unsubstantiated information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you said we could ask questions on topics, so I'm going to do that, because this is a question I get asked a lot, Tracy. I figure it's only fair to give you the opportunity to answer, because I don't know what to tell people. What they asked me is, if he says he didn't share information, how come these other people have come forward and said that you did tell them that Sheriff Snoz and other individuals were involved in narcotic sales?
Okay, so that part of the investigation was unsustained and it was unfounded.
I'm specifically talking about like Allie Pickard and Kyle Wheeler and those folks who came forward and said that.
Have you read the information? I did not talk to anybody. There's no evidence that I shared anything with them, and I did not share anything with them. It's protected information. I didn't even share anything with my wife because it's protected information. So it's this is where it gets into another issue with now we go from a wrongful termination to a defamation case. So the process that we're going through with the grievance, when it's all done, yes, unfortunately, there's going to be issues with public officials and city agencies and county government that have been speaking out of turn before they wait for the process to go through. We're all entitled to due process. And if they can do this to me, they can do it to anybody, and it's not right.
Yeah.
So the next question, this will go to Fraze. What is your position regarding recruitment, retention, and training in the sheriff's office, considering nearby jurisdictions offer more pay?
Unfortunately, that is a lovely situation that we're having to deal with. When you have Thurston County, who's not that far from us, that again is offering a whole lot more in their base pay, big recruiting incentives. So you have somebody that's coming in at the ground level going, guess what? I can be the bottom of the totem pole over here in Lewis County, or I can be the bottom of the totem pole in Thurston County and make a whole lot more. So we have to figure out what can we do to make our Lewis County more desirable. One of the fortunate things we have going for us is the citizens. I personally would not want to work in Thurston County just because of some of the things that go on. We have a great group of citizens down here, and we have to make sure that we let our prospective new hires understand that that's why. We are a family down here. A family within our office, a family within our surrounding agencies, and we have a great working relationship with most of our citizens. So a lot of it is basically trying to sell the area and the working environment and how great it is. We actually have a fairly new deputy that lateraled from a higher paying agency in Thurston County, Lacey PD, to come down here just because guess what? Down here, we're more for putting people in jail when they commit a crime. Up there, it's like, I would have to ask permission just to do something that should be basic common sense with someone that has a commission from the Criminal Justice Training Commission and has demonstrated their ability to do an investigation, make an arrest. So we just have to show that we have a lot of trust in our officers, trust them without being micromanaged. And again, we can't do the budgetary stuff. That's out of our hands, but we need to make sure we do everything we can to make this the best working environment possible.
All right, so I said this before, people don't leave jobs or organizations, people leave people. So first and foremost, you have to have leaders who understand the importance of the people that they're actually over. We need to make sure that we're providing them with the proper tools, training, resources, supervision, mentoring that they need to be successful. That we value them and what they do, because this is a tough job. Nobody wants to come to a place where they don't feel valued. We already know that the citizens of Lewis County values law enforcement. We need to make sure that the leadership shows their people that they're valued, that we're doing stuff for them, because when they enjoy where they go to work, they're not going to leave. It's not about the money. I know I could have left years ago and went to another agency to make more money. It's not about money. It's about what we do. This is a calling. Not everybody is called to go into law enforcement. And so we need to culture these and grow these young men and women who want to do this job and sacrifice. And it comes through valuing them, making sure that they have what they need to succeed. Not looking at, oh, we know you're going to fail, so we'll deal with it when you fail. No, we don't want failures, because when our people fail, it fails the citizens, and ultimately, any failure from the people in any organization, it's a failure in leadership to provide them the tools, training, resources, supervision, and mentoring they need to be successful. So when we have this environment where people are valued and cared for and encouraged to make decisions and do what's right, then you're not going to have people leave. You're going to have people that want to come and want to be a part of it. And that's where we got to focus. We got to focus on the right leadership to bring people to us.
Thank you.
That would have been good.
So I'm going to second everything Murphy said. The biggest thing for the sheriff is truly to be a servant leader. We take care of the people that work for us. That's the people that are on the road. That's the people that work in our office. And that's the people that work in our jail. Those three places, we have to take care of them. There is other places they're going to go make money. We have a chance here in Lewis County because Tracy stayed with Centralia. I stayed with the county because I love the location. I love the people. I love my bad guys because it is truly, we can make a choice, a difference here in this county. We need a vision, and that vision needs to be pushed down and brought up. So everybody feels empowered to be a part of the solution, that when that command staff walks by you and says good morning, they aren't thinking about the next thing that they got to do. They're talking to you. They are there with you, listening. When somebody steps on it, screws up, that we're there to look to see if it was a training issue, because I hate to say this, as the guild president, and I've done this through a long time, there's been a lot of issues that got disciplined that's a training issue on the leaders, not the deputies. It's the leaders that failed us. And that being said, we need to step up in front of that and give the people that work for us the training, the ability to go out and do the right thing, and not the fear that if they do something wrong, that they're going to get hammered for. Because trust me, I've made poor choices in my life, and those I dealt with appropriately. But there was times where I was called into the carpet, and it wasn't appropriate. It was a training issue, or if there was some outside part to this. So the big thing is to give a place for the deputies in corrections, on patrol, and our staff in the office, the ability to feel their power and make this about them, and they will stay here no matter what.
Recruitment and retention is the challenge for every police department in the country right now, especially in Washington State. It's difficult to find good quality people. It really is. It's hard. When I applied, there were countless people who applied for one position. Now I have a hard time finding people to fill spots. They just don't want to be cops anymore. And it starts by getting more involved with our youth. We have to get back into youth programs and encourage the youth to become police officers, become deputies, become troopers. We got to get back into the schools and work with them. That's step one. And yes, that payoff isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take years. Those kids have to grow up and eventually turn 21 so we can hire them. But that's where it needs to start. We have to get more involved with our youth. As far as retaining people, it's no secret the sheriff's office has a hard time doing that. I left there. Several other people from my agency have left there. They have a difficult time hanging on to folks, especially in their jail. They leave quickly. And I think what they've said is pretty accurate. It's about how we treat people. It's about when you show up into the office, you walk around every day, and you greet every single person that works there. Doesn't matter who they are or what they're doing. I do that now. I come into the office, I greet every single person. You get to know them on a personal level. They're not just a number. They're not just a nameless records technician. They're a person. You find out what their family's like. You get to know and involved in who they are, and they will get involved in who you are. It seems so simple, but it's hard. It's hard to take that time out of your busy schedule and go talk to everybody. With 115 staff members, that's going to take a long time. But that's what you have to do. You have to get to know people.
Thank you. I'm going to, for the interest of time, and I'm trying to give the audience some time to actually ask some questions themselves. I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to ask one last question. Each candidate has said that the rule of law, and this is, Tracy, you get on this. Each candidate has said that the rule of law, honesty, and integrity are the foundation of their career. Please explain how a police officer who has a Brady letter, which is a note about past problems that must be shared in court, affects the court system, community trust, insurance costs, and job performance. And then compare how that would be different if this involved the sheriff. If the sheriff had a Brady letter.
So let's address the Brady letter with me, because that'll take care of a lot of it, and I can answer actually the Brady issue. I'm still in the due process. So even though the Brady letter is there, that's actually based on the faulty investigation and decisions by the city of Centralia. Once our due process goes through and that's changed, that Brady letter won't be there anymore. So I'm not going to really address the Brady letter with me. And let me talk about the Brady letter overall. So
I'd like to redirect, if I could.
Yeah.
This is, the question is asking how it would affect the office of the prosecuting attorney, insurance liabilities, if in fact a sheriff was elected who had a Brady letter. This is a hypothetical, it doesn't have to be an actual.
Well, I don't think it does, because if you look at all the amount of deputies currently at the Lewis County Sheriff's Office that are on the Brady list, that have a Brady letter, that Jonathan Meyer is totally fine with, and their cases are going forward, it doesn't look like it has any effect whatsoever. City of Chehalis, has an officer that is on the Brady list as well. Matter of fact, they didn't have an issue with sending that officer over to JNet to represent them with JNet during that time. Now, there was an issue with that officer becoming a DEA task force officer because the United States Attorney's Office had an issue with the Brady letter. But the Lewis County prosecuting attorney had zero issues with the Brady letters. So to answer that, I would have to say that there is no issue, that it won't cause any effects, because all the people that are on the Brady list, the prosecutor who looks after the liability allows them to still be working, and I mean even Chehalis' is a perjury letter. So I mean it's the case itself. It's not just being on the Brady that causes the issue.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be a good leader if I didn't protect and defend my people. And that's what this comes down to. Some of the things Mr. Murphy's saying are inaccurate. First of all, yes, he has a Brady letter because he switched two things around in a document, and he owned up to it, and he said, whoops, I made a mistake. I had the order of events wrong. My mistake. Myers wrote a letter of recommendation for him to go on JNet. You were behind him joining JNet because you endorsed it. You helped him get in there. So to say that it makes no difference isn't true. Jonathan Meyer wrote him a letter of recommendation to put him back into JNet. It's not the same. It's not the same, Tracy, sorry.
That's a rebuttal, so go ahead, because Danny's waiting for.
So again, the question was the Brady letter.
That was on a zero. We have another mic. Or can you grab a mic?
So it's not about what the Brady letter, that wasn't what the question said, what the question was asked. The Brady letter does not appear to have any issues. Now, when we talk about Chehalis sending a guy that made a mistake, but sending him to be put on the Brady, why was he, if it was just a mistake, why are you sending him to Chehalis to put him on a Brady list? And now you're then saying that, yes, we want him over in investigations because there's no issue. So it seems like we're making a big deal about a Brady, and even law enforcement administrators that have the ability to send things over and, that does internals is okay with the Brady letter. So let's not have a double standard here. You actually have all the facts on yours. You don't have all the facts on mine. So let's let due process happen, and let's not be judgmental.
Hello, everybody. My name is Danny Reardon. I work in the Sheriff's Office. Just to let you know, I did receive a Brady letter back in 2018. I unfortunately made poor choices during that time. I had an affair with a subordinate, and unfortunately, that's a bad thing. So, Jonathan Meyer pulled me into Chief Kinsey's office, and they were in there, and they're like, hey, Dan, you're going to receive a Brady letter. I lost my ever-loving mind, because a Brady letter to me at that time meant I lied. I've never lied. I've always owned up. I have made mistakes. I am human. I am not the perfect. There's only been one perfect person. I am not that person. I've made mistakes. I continue to make mistakes because I'm human. That being said, the Brady letter to me was a death sentence to me, because I've been through the guild. I'm a guild representative. So it was like, oh my gosh, my life just ended because Captain America, now, yeah, he screwed up. But now he's, no. Now he's being told that he's a liar. Let me talk to you real quick about this. I called Jonathan Meyer, made sure, because I made a quote at this last meeting on Thursday about what the Brady letter is. There's two styles of the Brady letter. Truly, there is two. One is you lied, and if you lie in your report, lie under oath, that's a perjury statement. So that being said, that is the ultimate one. That's the one where they can put you on a no-call list. I don't think we have anybody in this county that is on that list. Everybody that's working here that has a letter is usually because of they've made mistakes. And Jonathan Meyer has the right, as the prosecuting attorney, to take information from admin staff and go ahead and put a warning letter, because that's what it is. It's a warning letter that, hey, they had this issue. So in So in Jonathan Meyer's mind, it's one of those things that he gives the letter out, and
Thank
the
you.
attorney makes the decision. So it's
Rule
not
of
a
law. Thank you.
Could a Brady letter affect the sheriff? Yeah, it could. I mean, it really comes down to what the content is. We've heard it before. There's different things people can get Brady for. All the way from policy violations to lying and providing false information. That's what the one that could affect a sheriff, is the lying and providing false information. You're gonna have to rebuild your relationship with the agencies that are around you. And it's gonna be challenging. Does it mean that you can't be the sheriff? No, that's entirely up to you folks, the people who vote. That's who decides how important a Brady letter really is. And we should read each one of those for anybody who has a Brady letters, front to back, to make sure that we understand what's in there. It's your call. It's your call on what you decide to do.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So ultimately, a Brady letter, just like some of the other ones have said, there's different levels. So could a sheriff actually have a Brady letter and be able to be successful? Well, frankly, the majority of the areas where a Brady letter is used is in court. How often does a sheriff actually go to court? So I don't particularly see it when it comes to a huge issue with it causing a problem when they're not going to usually testify in court. The big issue I see has to do with trust with the community and trust with the people that they're allegedly trying to lead. How can I hold one of my people accountable? Make sure that they're being honest, make sure they're being ethical and moral, if I can't do that myself. So I think that's the big issue. When you have a Brady letter, it's going to bring into question everything that you do, and it's like, how come you're asking me to do this when you're not doing it yourself? I want to lead from the front. I want somebody that shows this is how you do the task, this is how we can take care of it, and not have the do as I say, not as I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I still have a rebuttal?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Brady letter, we're getting back to it. So with my letter and with what I've done in my past, my mistakes, I teach the new deputies, this is not what you do. I use that. I am not afraid of my past, because that's who I am. It makes me who I am, and the fact that I can stand up in front of you and tell you that I've made mistakes shows my integrity, shows that I'm honest. I've never hide from it. I own it. It's not great, truly understand, but it makes for good tabloid. I'm not going to lie. But again, I have shown that one thing that I can do is be honest, forthright, upfront, and that's how I protect the people below me. Because these souls are starting out in this career. I want them to get to the 57-year age mark like I am. I want them there, and that's how you do it. You don't want to be just the shiny knight. You need to be sometimes muddy, gone through it, so you can lead these people. Because a perfect person is not a leader. You've done nothing. So again, sorry, Brady letter is kind of like that mark. It's not a badge. I know he's going to do it. It's not a badge,
Thank you.
but it is what it is.
Okay, that was a rebuttal to me. I'm not sure what the question was, so I have no response.
There you go.
Good job. Okay, that's going to end this section, and we have a dead mic, so I'm going to have to ask you guys to share.
Like
We're
that.
gonna-
Yeah.
So we're going to change this format a little bit. Colonel Averill is going, our parliamentarian will work the back of the room, I'll work the front. We're going to open this up for questions. Keep this decorous. If you have a question at this point, we will allow you to stand, state your name, and ask that question. At 11:30, we can give those to Aaron. So Aaron, take a look, and if there's some questions that just jump out, give us a nod and we'll read that over. So are there any questions at this point from the audience that you guys would like to ask? At 11:30, I'll ask if you guys want to continue or if you want to end it at that point. You'll help me make that decision. So if we need to extend the time to accommodate you, we'll do that. This is an important time. If you have questions, please stand. We'll go Colonel Averill first.
My name is Mike Holland, and as a candidate should be aware, is that your administrative staff is your base foundation that really provides support for your elected position. In the past, many of the sheriffs, which I've dealt with for the last 45 years, have really dealt and struggled with constructive criticism from their administrative staff. How would you handle that input? Would you encourage that constructive criticism, or would you tend to put the administrative staff in a position where you're not going to give you that information that you need to know?
Is this directed to all the candidates or one?
That's directed to all the candidates.
Thank you.
Who do you want?
We'll start and go back in order. You did. Thank you.
Okay, one of the things that I believe is very important of the sheriff is not to have an ego. To be willing to accept criticism, accept input. We should all understand that we don't have all the answers. Okay, sorry. That we do not have all the answers. I may have a lot of knowledge, or these other gentlemen may have a lot of knowledge in a lot of areas, but we are not the ultimate expert in every area. So me personally, in my current position and previous positions, I have no issue with having a deputy or a support staff or someone up coming to me and saying, guess what? I don't agree with the decision you made, and this is why, and these are the circumstances. Now, I would request the same thing the sheriff requests, the current sheriff, is that we do it respectfully, and if there's going to be some type of confrontation where that they don't do it in a disrespectful way, sometimes it's best to do it behind closed doors. So I am somebody that has no problem accepting feedback, even if it's of a negative fashion, saying that, hey, I don't like the way you're doing things. I'm like, hey, explain to me why, and I'll be more than happy to listen.
So I haven't got where I am in my career by relying on my own wisdom or lack of wisdom. I really rely on the people that are around me to help better me, just like I hope they rely on me to help them be better. In any leadership position, and especially with the sheriff, his leadership team is the most important thing. And the people that you pick for your leadership team need to be those who understand what it is that we do, that we serve the people. In order to be successful at serving the people, that we have to serve the people that work for us. It's very important. And we have to be open to constructive criticism. We don't know everything. I don't know everything. I want to make sure that I surround myself with people that'll just not follow me down the wrong path, that they have the fortitude and the strength to say, whoa, 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 stop. This is not the way we should be going. That is very important if we're going to be successful, that we have to listen to those that we surround ourselves with, but we have to be very, very careful with not selecting the wrong people in those positions. They have to be strong. They have to understand their commitment is not to the sheriff, it's not to the office, it's to the people. So as long as the people are always the focus, then we're never going to get off track. We're going to work together to be successful for the people.
What are we going to do, Greg?
I'm looking for the other microphone.
Okay. So, Mr. Merriman, I have 4 blocks, 4 building blocks. Number 2 is administrative assistants. That's the people. It's underneath that it says lifeblood of the office.
Raise your mic.
Lifeblood of the office.
They are the people that run everything. The cops are out there doing their job. The correctional deputies are in their house doing what they need to do. But the only way that this works is with our staff that's inside that office, making sure our workflows go up, go down. They save us so much headaches that it is something that we need to empower them. Right now, we're kind of there. My big thing is to empower every single person in that agency. I love Survey Monkeys because it allows that person to be anonymous and say, hey, guess what? You guys are doing it wrong. So they are empowered. And then we can grow that to where we have groups, meetings, and be able to say that in front of the leadership. Our undersheriff is sitting back there, Kevin Engelbertson. He does that with the groups. He meets with a select people so we can get that knowledge out there and talk about complaints. And it's an open environment. He's doing the right thing during a hard time, but he's doing it right. So we have a lot that we can do. We can easily fix it January 1st, 2027, and that's my view on that.
Command staff, very important part of any team. You have to surround yourself. It's a simple principle, really. You surround yourself with people smarter than you that know their area of expertise, and you listen to them. When they give you direction, when they tell you, hey, you should do this, you should probably do it. When push comes to shove, it's your decision as a sheriff, but it's also your failure if it doesn't work out. Nobody should ever know if one of your command staff gave you a bad idea and you went forward on it. That's your failure. But if they give you a good idea and it goes forward, that's their success. That's leadership. You own every single failure your agency makes, and you reward everybody else for the success that they do. So that's what I would look for in my command staff. People that are experts in their field, that are willing to stand up to me and tell me to not do something before I do it, and then to advise me on how I need to proceed. It's a pretty simple principle, just harder to find those folks.
Okay, anyone want to-
Ruth Peterson. I was wondering, what do you see as issues involving the jail, and what changes would you make?
I'm going to limit all responses to 1 minute now, just to save time.
Oh my gosh. That's even harder for me.
Okay, so that's a big question because we have staffing issues. We also have issues with the actual jail itself. Back in 2004, Sheriff McCroskey said when it was built that this jail will be obsolete in 20 years, and we're past that. So we have to get the capacity and the infrastructure built back up in the jail. Staffing in the jail is no different than staffing out on the road. We need to provide an environment for people who want to come, that they feel valued and supported. Also, we need to start bringing other stuff back in the jail. We need to bring jail ministry back in. We need to bring the Alcohol Anonymous, the different support groups back in so that we can start dealing with these people and giving the resources that they need while they're in jail. Because they're more inclined to receive it there than it is after they leave and give a number to call these people. So we just need to build our infrastructure better and get the right,
Thank you.
get these other people back in.
Everyone?
I second everything Mr. Murphy just said about the infrastructure, but the big thing for me, and because I know, man, I'm terrible at this.
Hold it on your chin.
That's nasty. Anyways, so the big thing for me is I know the jail right now, the correctional deputies, the sergeants, they do not feel seen. So that's my big thing, day one, would be to empower them, make them feel that they're a part, that they are not a stepchild, they're not over there in their dungeon, but make them empowered and get them involved in their future themselves. And that's the number one thing for me is taking care of the people. The people are going to take care of the jail. We'll figure out how to get the infrastructure taken care of. The resources will want to come in if we have happy correctional deputies doing their job and they're empowered. People are going to want to come help us and volunteer and do things for us.
All right, we've only got a minute. We can talk about the budget being half of the sheriff's office budget. We can talk about the medical contract. We can talk about all those things. But when push comes to shove, it's the people there that are the important part. It's the staff, the corrections deputies, and they are deputies just like the patrol staff, and they are forgotten, and they feel forgotten, and they feel ignored. And that's part of the reason why they're leaving. They don't feel like they have a voice. We need to bring them back into the fold. They are deputies. There's no reason why we can't merge some of our training programs together so they can be part of the entire sheriff's office, so we can get to know each other. We need to meet with them and talk with them and find out what's going well and what's not. What can we do to keep them? They're leaving. We need them to stay. That is our number one priority, is people. Without people, we have nothing.
In order to keep good corrections deputies, we have to make them feel valued. And one of the things that we have done in the past, and it's kind of slipped away, and it's depending on joint training. The issue is there's a lot of training that does not equate both between patrol deputies and corrections deputies. One of the things it does is firearms. So in the past, and again, I don't remember it happening very recently, but in the past, we have actually combined range qualifications. We have the same range qualifications, so we can actually have several different days where deputies from both the road and from the jail can come up and actually shoot together. And that just to build a cohesive unit. Because unfortunately, they are kind of stuck in a dungeon. I see that when I walk in there, it's like there's no windows, this is very dark, I don't know if I would want to work here, but it's one of those situations. So one of the things that we have done is been reduce the age level, or the age that you have to be to actually become a corrections deputy, because technically you don't have to have a firearm. They can be assigned to only in the jail and not doing transports. By doing that, we can start people that are younger in the law enforcement pipeline.
Thank you. Okay, we're at the 11:30 time frame we talked about. I would like just a quick voice vote if you guys would like to continue. If you would like to do so for till 12. Are we okay with that? I'd like to have you guys respond with an aye. Aye. If you agree with that? Opposed? Okay, we're going to continue. Thank you. All right. So I have a question that was turned in from the back, and I'd like this is directed to all. Yeah, I'm going to take this one first. So this was turned into the back before we started the open questioning. Will you promise to handle internal investigations, not just fairly, but terminate employees when called for, which seems to be lacking again for decades? So this seems like it's an ongoing issue. Who is up for that? I don't remember.
I was last, so therefore.
So Tracy or?
Tracy started the last one.
Okay, Danny, thank you.
So we actually have probable cause to terminate somebody. If we have probable cause to, if they've committed a crime, then we have probable cause to, at that point, terminate them. There is a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that needs to transpire, and that's truly the problem that we have, is we don't educate the public on what's happening through those investigations. There's some investigations where, again, we don't put the information out, so you guys are, half the crowd is making a decision off of half the information, and the other side is off the other half. Are we at 1 minute too? Okay, so there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but if somebody has committed a crime, no matter who, we're going to deal with them appropriately, and they're going to be out the door. Sheriff Sanders is doing a great job of that. He's showing us what we can do and how we should do it. That's a good policy that he has there, because he puts it out there. Sometimes he puts it out there too soon, but he does put that information out there. And that's the big thing, is educating the citizens of that.
Thank you.
All right, accountability. Accountability is always challenging. You have to really look at what the issue is. Generally, it comes down to one of three things. Somebody made a mistake, but they thought they were doing the right thing. And that's pretty simple to correct. Somebody did what they thought was best, but they just weren't trained on how to do it right. Well, that's simple to fix too. It's that last one. It's the one that they knew what was wrong and they did it anyhow. That's the issue that gets people terminated more often than not. If you know something's wrong and you do it anyhow, you're probably going to get fired. But if you do the right thing and you own up to what happened, you're going to be fine. You can screw up a lot of stuff in law enforcement and keep your job, as long as you know what you're doing is for the benefit of the community that you serve, and that you're just doing the best job you can.
Okay, when it comes to people that do things wrong within the agency, screw up, whatever, the first thing that we have to do is figure out what level is this mess up, what level is this intentional? Because the first thing that we do internally here is this something that we should actually handle internally, or should we go to an outside agency? Would it be appropriate for us to look at our own officers, deputies, or should we reach out to Thurston County, Mason County, some other completely separate entity to do an independent investigation? If we have something that looks like it might potentially be criminal, we're definitely going to look to the outside, because guess what? We're not going to have a tainted investigation. So after the investigation process, and we don't have much time, so which does take some time. In the end, if it's a founded investigation, where we've determined that if a crime happened, the person's probably going to be terminated, but we have to do everything according to the collective bargaining agreement. And I'm sorry, I'm done time.
All right, well, recently I've gotten a lot of experience on this. First time going through this, but I've learned a lot. And one of the big things that I've learned is that we don't hire bad people. So why are we getting complaints? Why is this happening? Where is leadership failing them? Are we setting people up for failure and putting them in positions that we should never have done before? If somebody's having issues at home, and you'll see their work product drop. You'll see these signs that there's something going on. So if we are not engaged with them and not recognizing that they're going through something, that's the failure on us. We need to get them the help they need before we get into where there's an internal, where there might be termination, where there might be discipline. But if we've done all that, and a bad one gets through, and they have a history of doing things wrong, then yes, we need to document that. We need to, whether it's termination, whether it's a performance improvement plan, whatever needs to be done, we need to do that because it's for the people. I saw.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a question. Julie, one more time. So the big controversy, called the Murphy controversy, part of that was the allegation that Sheriff Snaza was involved somehow in trafficking cocaine. And I know there's been other complaints filed against Snaza or the Sheriff Department where internal investigations have not happened. As elected sheriff, will you pursue any of these complaints, even ones that haven't been addressed from the past and this current one as sheriff?
Is that for all of us, I take it? Yeah, all complaints should be investigated regardless of who they, 30 seconds, jeez. All complaints should be investigated regardless of who they are. Sometimes those should be deferred to federal agencies depending on who it is, because we might be too close to the issue. It's sometimes good to have an outside agency investigate something. Part of that is to make sure that you all believe it's a fair process. If you think that I'm personal friends with somebody and I say I investigated them and nothing happened and truly nothing happened, are you going to believe me? Maybe not. So sometimes it's good to have those investigations investigated by some impartial entity. If we're talking about drugs like the DEA, that's their job, is to look into that so that we can keep the investigation clean. That way you don't have questions as to what the result of it is.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, your question basically had to do with past stuff, past allegations, and if we're going to continue to investigate those past allegations that haven't been investigated up to this point. Is that correct?
And the current one.
And the current one. Okay, so one of the things, anytime there's a criminal allegation, that is something that, as long as the statute of limitations is still active, can be investigated. If we have an allegation against someone that is not criminal, and this was 5 years ago, and it just, I don't like how they handled my call, we have to respect that, guess what, after a certain amount of time, just like we would with a criminal case, just like we would with the respect we would give a criminal, we have to give our employees the same thing. How can they defend themselves today when someone's making an allegation about 5 years ago when they might not even remember the contact? So I'm definitely open to investigating things where they're fairly recent or it's criminal, but unfortunately there is kind of a timeline when you can't really go back here because it wouldn't be fair to the employee because there's no way to defend themselves.
Statute of limitation for public officials is 7 years. So the answer to that question is yes. Because the oath that I have taken is to uphold and enforce the Constitution and laws of the United States of America and the state of Washington. So the sheriff has a duty and a responsibility to do an investigation, but that means an investigation. None of this stuff should be public until an investigation has been completed thoroughly, and then there's a finding. If it's unfounded, it should never be public. But if there's evidence to support it, then we have to do our job, and there's an arrest that will be made if it's a criminal violation. So it's clear. The problem is when we go outside of the process and people put out information into the public, especially government institutions, put out information into the public that should never go out there to smear someone because the investigation hasn't been completed. It's wrong.
So I have just clarifying, do you have a certain, I'm going to focus mine. Do you have a certain thing that you're actually asking about? Is there a certain investigation? Because I can tell you as the guild president, I represent the deputies, and let me put it this way, we lead by discipline sometimes. So there is a lot of investigations that go on. There's a lot of times that you guys don't know stuff is happening. So if there's something that's out there that you believe should have been investigated, again, the Chronicle has the information that's based, their information. So inside the house, I can say on my side, the deputies guild portion of it, and then just I think maybe 5 years ago, I had the sergeants with me too, is if they stepped on it, if things happened, they investigated it. Our agency is very good at doing internals, trust me. So that being said, if there's something out there that people are being focused on, I don't know about it, and so I don't know how to answer that question. But we try to give everybody the fair due process, get them through that process, and if there is anything that's criminal, we would put it out to somebody else if we believed it was criminal. So it is we do take care of it, so, sorry.
Thank you. So before we go any further, I do want to make sure that we're clear that these allegations against SNAZA and others have been investigated by the FBI and have been looked at by other law enforcement agencies outside of our county, and there's been no findings. And so it's important we make that clarification here. Dan, did you have a comment?
Just one other thing, because I just saw a CJTC complaint, anonymous complaint filed on one of our sergeants, and I believe that complaint was also sent to the FBI and investigated for usage of, I believe, the MDC or something improper like that. And the FBI found that it was not a violation.
So the general protocols is, as stated, you find impartial law enforcement agencies, such as the FBI and other adjoining county leads, to do the investigation. It's not done internally. Thank you.
Okay,
Yourself?
I'm gonna speak up just to clarify, because you're putting a blanket statement about.
I'm asking for clarification.
Yeah, I'll give you a clarification. So, is the FBI aware of some stuff and looked into some stuff? Yes. Do they have all the information? No. All the information wasn't provided them. So, to say that they've actually done a thorough investigation, that's not true. One of the issues that we have in investigation is people are afraid to come forward and be a witness.
So my concern with this comment, Tracy, and I will
Go ahead.
I will clarify this, is you are now casting allegations and saying that, I just want to clarify, because it sounds like you're casting allegations because the investigation isn't finished.
No,
It'll never be finished in that model, so please clarify.
I am clarifying. You made a statement
Yes,
that everything has been investigated.
there has been an investigation.
Well,
I never made the statement that it's all been investigated.
so I'm just clarifying that
Thank you.
that isn't true, because
There has
there's,
not been an investigation?
Who told you that?
I'm asking you. Go ahead.
I'm clarifying what you said.
Okay.
You said that this has been investigated all by the FBI. I'm just letting you know that is not correct. That statement that you made is not correct. I'm not going into it and saying whether somebody's guilty or innocent or there's validity to it. That's what an investigation determines.
Correct.
So, but to say that they've done an investigation and that it's over, I'm just saying that's not correct.
Thank you. Great. Questions? Yes. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Pat Timmons. First, Mr. Fraser, thank you for your service to all the veterans in this room. Thank you. It's without you, we wouldn't be here having this. My question is, I've heard a lot throughout this cycle, reserve programs, transparency, accountability. Let's get to brass tacks, let's talk about budget. What have you guys done, each one of you done, to prepare yourself to run the sheriff's budget? What action would you take, what steps would you take if you were over budget? Because the jail nationwide, it's over budget everywhere. Lewis County is not the only one. What steps would you guys take to get the budget in line, in order? And if certain areas had to go to the wayside, what sections would you put on the back burner to bring that budget back up into the positive?
Is this for all candidates?
All candidates.
All candidates. Thank you.
Okay, as you acknowledged, again, the budget is a big thing. So one of the issues we have to do is, within the past several years, the budget that the sheriff's office has received, and I'm sure all other accounting entities, has basically been status quo. As everything has gone along, the cost of doing business, whether it's fuel, whether it's wages, everything else has gone up. So we're trying to figure out how to do the provide the same level of service with a lower funding. So we basically have to look at, most of our money goes to wages and other things that we really can't control. So we then have to figure out what are the things, the non-essentials that we can cut. Unfortunately, those few non-essentials don't have a whole lot of money. I mean, we can cut, if we got rid of all our paper, copy machine rentals, things like that, we wouldn't actually save a whole lot. So ultimately, even though it's not fun, we are not filling, and hopefully it's not filling, hopefully somebody has left and we're just not filling them and we're not actually having to fire someone. But it's ultimately comes down to FTEs, the positions. I mean, it's not a fun situation.
And that's full-time employees, FTEs. And yeah, that's the most important thing because we can't provide the service of keeping us safe if we don't have the boots on the ground. So that's the most important thing in a budget that we have to go through. The other thing that we have to look at is we got to look at where we're actually spending money. Are we spending money efficiently and effectively? Are we partnering with other agencies to help reduce the cost that we're giving? Are we merging our training units from the jail and the sheriff's office to reduce that budget? You know, it becomes you've got to go through the budget and see what can be cut first. You know, administration. If we're top heavy, well, why do we need a top heavy administration when we need boots on the ground? So it's about looking at the budget and reallocating and being more effective and efficient with the money that the taxpayers give us. The grant funding that's out there, we have so much grant funding that we're not even applying for because it becomes more work. But sometimes we have to put in the work to get the results. Thank you.
So to answer your question, I am not the expert in that. The expert in that's sitting right in the back room there. He is the undersheriff at this point, and he's running the budget, and he's doing everything he possibly can to make that budget work. My job is to give him a vision, saying, this is what I want this agency to do. Let's find a way to do it. He's going to tell me, hey, this is what we have, this is how we can get there. Then we go look outside the box. Outside the box, look for funding out there. ICAC, which handles all of our child crimes, the internet crimes, they give us money for investigations for detectives. We can find U.S. Marshals give us money for investigations. There's avenues out there that we are not touching because it's more work on leadership to get those grants and that outside funding. And then if I give you a product, you citizens, a product that you like, that you're getting investigations, your sheriff's office doing the right thing, then when I do come to you and say, I need a public safety tax, you're going to, I understand, I truly understand. But if I do come there, you guys are going to be the vocal ones. You guys are going to make the choice for that, not me. I am not going to be that person. You're going to make that choice for us.
If you're careful, Aaron's going to throw that mallet at you. Okay, so what do I do right now to help manage the budget? What are my experiences in that area? I'm on our budgeting team. I'm the second in command, so our multi-million-dollar budget is what I deal with. That's one of the things that comes through my office. It's one of my projects. We just spent an hour and a half the other day trying to figure out what we're going to do for the next year with annexation and trying to get better equipment for our people. It's difficult. The biggest chunk of any budget is staffing, but that's the most important part. That's the part you have to keep above all else. So then you have to look at other stuff. Where else could we cut if we need to? Well, I hate to break it to you, most of the things in there are required. So we have to look at, can we extend the life of our car by 1 extra year? That's $120,000 a car. If we can extend it by 1 extra year, that gets us more time. Can we keep our tasers for 1 extra year? They have a shelf life of 5 years. But taser sets out, they're good for a few more years than that. So what can we do to try to extend things? Because every penny matters in the budget. We shouldn't be changing our uniforms so rapidly. Maybe we don't stripe our cars differently several times. We have to look at the tiny, tiny things and see how we can change to save you money, because it's your money.
Thank you.
You have another question?
Hello, Lindsay Murphy. I have a quick question and then a short follow-up. So would all 4 of you agree that the comment section on the Lewis County Sheriff's Office Facebook page should be open?
Yes.
All 4 of you?
Yes.
Solid yes?
There's an issue with that, and the issue with that is there's actually a liability because you can't control, and again, we're not trying to control people, but people can put a comment on there that's completely inappropriate. I'm not saying one we don't like, but one that actually is threatening to someone. And if we don't have someone that's dedicated to actually watch those comments, we become liable.
Okay.
So if we have it, I'm sure the Chronicle has someone that watches theirs all the time, like a hawk. But unless we have a person dedicated to watching those comments so they can get rid of the threat, the threat or something else, that's where my concern is. I have no problem with leaving them open when it comes to say whatever you want about me, you don't like me, a department, whatever, but without having somebody there that's always checking it to make sure that we don't have some criminal activity occurring, it becomes a liability on us.
Okay. Matt? Yes, sorry. Just a yes or no is.
Yeah, I can answer your next question, which is why does Chehalis not have the comments turned on?
Well, it's a little more detailed than that, but
Oh, okay.
you have made multiple, or you stated multiple times every decision comes through your office. So if that's the case and you think that they should be open for the sheriff's office, why since July 24th of 2025 have they been turned off for Chehalis?
Great question. I had a feeling you were going there. Something told me that's where we're going to end up. Because as much as I have influence, I am not the ultimate decider. I went to my chief actually recently and I said, hey, I think we need to turn this back on. And he said, I don't want to. Okay? If my job is to advise. That's my role. I advise. I hope that he listens to my advice. But he's the chief. In the end, if he says no, the answer is no.
Do I have a rebuttal? Actually, that's going to be a statement.
It's just an open thing.
So, reference to the comment section, and I believe Facebook does this. You put it on safe mode, so if anybody writes anything that's completely derogatory, it doesn't erase it, but it just hides it from other people. So you'll see those comments out there where it's like, it says 6, but there's only 4 visible, because somebody's wrote something that's improper. We're not silencing them, but we're also protecting, the algorithm is protecting the citizens from seeing something that's totally gross or inappropriate or threatening. So there is the way to do that. The other thing is, and you just made me, I was like in a roll.
Wasting your time.
I know, sorry about that. So the comment section is a huge thing for us. It needs to be turned on. It is what it is. We had it on when we had the first Facebook up. We used it. The citizens loved doing the warrant arrest, warrant of the week, telling me, hey, Billy Bob is over here. So it's an easy fix to get you guys involved in this. And we can also hear that you're not happy with us on some things.
Continue with the question here. Go ahead, sorry.
I'll give a quick response to this because I think we're missing one component of this. I know that it affects everyone. There's bullies that say things on Facebook and Instagram and everything else. Well, there's actually crimes in the state of Washington, computer trespass and the harassment statutes. If we start taking a look at that and actually investigating those crimes, then if they're sending things in, we should be holding them accountable. If they're threatening people and they're violating the law, then they should be held criminally accountable for that. Because when people realize that you can hide behind a keyboard, but if you're violating the law, we'll come after you anyway, I think that'll help keep all of us safe so nobody else has to experience being bullied.
Hello, my name is Mark Braley. I'm from Olympia, Washington. I'm a 4th generation born in the old St. Peter's Hospital. My question is, as an elected official, you're not bound by county commissioners and all that. You're free to direct your officers in the way you feel. When it comes to immigration enforcement, how do you feel about your officers assisting in immigration enforcement? Sorry about that. I just had surgery.
Okay, well, we all live in Washington State, so it doesn't really make a difference what any of us feel because we are bound by Washington State law. Washington State law does not allow us, I'm quite quoted here, doesn't allow us to assist with immigration enforcement. Now, we are not going to hinder them, but we cannot do anything to actively assist, if that makes sense. In other words, it's not a decision that any of us make. We're bound by the legislature. We're bound by the laws of the state of Washington.
So if you're talking about assisting, being able to physically go out and do immigration enforcement we can't do that in Washington. However, we have a duty. We cannot obstruct them in their performance of their official duties. There's an RCW, obstructing a law enforcement officer, which includes a federal agent. So as long as they're working in their official capacity, we can't obstruct them.
More importantly than that, Washington State Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, is the supremacy clause that says we recognize the U.S. Constitution as the supreme law of the land. The U.S. Constitution gives sole jurisdictional authority to immigration to the federal government. No state has jurisdictional authority over immigration. So they'll come in, do your job. That's what you're enjoined by Constitution and law to do. We will make sure that the people are safe, that nobody violates the law and interferes with what you're doing, and we're not going to interfere. I mean, we have to work with our partners, and we have to uphold our oath to enforce uphold the Constitution and enforce the laws of the United States of America and state of Washington. Thank you.
Tracy's correct. The Sheriff's Office did adopt the new AG's policy, and it pretty much just says exactly that. We are the peacekeepers. They're going to do their job. We're going to be the peacekeepers. So if they need assistance, meaning they're surrounded, whatever, we will go in there and assist them. That's our job as peacekeepers. Just because the Washington law says we can't help them go out there and put people in jail that need to go to jail, we still are obligated to go assist them as a peacekeeper. And that is also protecting citizens too. So, yeah, I mean, our number one goal in that whole thing is we are the peacekeepers. We'll monitor it, we'll see what's happening, but we will be the peacekeepers to protect everybody that's involved.
I love those topics we all agree on. So, yeah, our job is to protect the people inside the county. That's our job. That's first and foremost to protect people. If immigration comes down and they're doing an activity, that's their job to do. That's what they're supposed to do. If people are going to assault and attack them, that's different. It's our job to protect everyone, including the law enforcement officers that are there doing their job. It seems complicated, but it's really not. We take care of people when cops, regardless of who they are, want help in protecting themselves from injury and assault. We're going to be there.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and use my quote rebuttal. I just wanted to clarify, because when I first was answering the question, I was focused on helping snatch up immigrants. That's the way I answered it. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands I'm of the same opinion. I mean, we're here to protect everybody, including federal immigration officers. So if they are we're not going to let something like happen in Minnesota happen here. If they are being assaulted, we are going to deal with that. And again, I apologize, I was going in one direction and wasn't thinking as wide as your question may have been. Thank you.
We have a question in the back.
Yeah, my name is Jason Capon. I grew up in this town and I moved back about 4 years ago. I'm raising 2 boys in this town. First thing isn't a question, it's kind of a statement. When it comes to some of the news, some of the Facebook stuff, comments, all that stuff, the word that people are missing is slander. A lot of it isn't opinions, it is slander, and it technically is, some of it is illegal. Anyways, I have a clothing brand I started out here on the West Coast, and I am a huge advocate for community safety, and I would like to know what all of you are willing to do to step up to make Lewis County literally the safest county in Washington.
Thank you. This will be the last question for the day.
All right, I'll make this quick and easy. Yeah, right. It's Tracy. That's the reason why I'm running. That's the reason why I'm putting myself out here and I'm putting my family through what's going on, the defamation. I wish slander was still a criminal violation in the state of Washington, but it's not. It's only a civil violation. But I'm standing up here fighting for all of us because I want it to be a safer place. I love this community. I love my neighbors. I don't know about Aaron right now. I keep throwing that 30-second thing. You know, this Lewis County is a great place. I've lived here all my life. I started as a police cadet. I want our youth to be engaged in what we do so that they stay here and don't leave, that they don't say, I want to go to Idaho, I want to go where it's better. Listen, if all the good people leave, then who's left? Like, we need to stay here, we need to be invested, we need to invest everything that we have to make this a safe place, and I'm doing that.
Well, unfortunately, Tracy kind of took my speech because I have, like I said, I have made mistakes,
and I've seen what this agency should be. I've always felt it. I mean, since 2002, and then when I got into detectives and I was the sergeant, and I saw what this agency could be, and we just never took that step forward. So, me sitting back, I talked to my friends and family, everybody that's close to me, and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out of this life without any regrets. I'm going to fight for Lewis County. I'm going to fight for the Lewis County Sheriff's Office. I fell in love with this place. I do not even see my future. I mean, I still see my future here, no matter what. But that's the reason why I'm running. I'm going to look outside the box, look outside, do whatever we need to do, figure ways out to build partnerships with our community, with our other police departments, to do what we need to do to go after the bad guys that are bad and doing harm to our citizens. Pure and simple. That's our job, and that's what I want to do.
All right, specifically, what we're going to do to make you safer, right? That was the question. We need to rejoin with some of our neighboring agencies. Being part of the Joint Narcotics Unit is good, but we need to refocus that to all street crimes, not just narcotics, because drugs affect everything. Burglaries, thefts, assaults, everything. So we need to refocus that unit to be for everything. We need to have a regional tactical response team. We don't have that. There's a barricaded subject in your house. We have to wait for somebody to get there. And lastly, we need to focus on crime in your backyard. We need to look at the people who are committing crimes in our neighborhoods and let them know that if they come to Lewis County, they're going to get arrested, they're going to go to jail, and they're going to be held accountable. If they want to commit criminal activity, they can go somewhere else.
You're right.
Most of this comes down to resources. We have a finite number of resources, amount of resources, and we have to figure out how to constantly reevaluate what areas, what criminal areas are the most prevalent at any given time. At one point, it was copper theft. And again, drugs is always an issue, but at one point, they kind of migrate. You have copper theft, you have this, you have that. So we need to kind of stay abreast of what the trends are so we can focus the resources we do have on those particular areas. Now, there are things that we can do to improve our resources, such as, again, join back into joint teams, whether that's SWAT, whether that's something like UNET, JNET, whatever that happens to be reimagined as in the future, just because it's always more economical to do it as a group than having a bunch of different fractured elements. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to work together and put our egos aside. So I think the best thing we can do is just partner up with our local agencies and again, keep track of what the criminal trends are so that we're actually focusing on the areas that are most important right now, not what was important 10 years ago.
Thank you all so much for your work today. We are now into the closing arguments. Sorry. Last closing comment time for for this town hall. And I'd like to change it up and have Matt start, and we'll just go from my left to you.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Geez, I prepared a 7-minute one. I'm just kidding. So it really comes down to a couple of things. Everybody I meet with that comes through my office that we hire, we have the same conversation in their first little bit they're there. I tell them 3 important points to live their career by. The first thing is, when you mess up, and you will, just be honest about it, we'll get through it, we'll work on it to get you better, and we'll be fine. The other 2 are more philosophy-based. The first is, when you go out there and you're not sure what to do, make the best decision you can for the people you serve with. And the second piece is make sure you make the best decision you can for the people you serve. If you keep those principles in mind, you will be a great deputy, you'll be a great officer. That's what you have to focus on when you're out on the street, the people you serve and the people you serve with. If that's the kind of sheriff you want, I'm asking for your vote for sheriff. Thank you.
Just 1 minute, I just got right on the dot. Just going back to oh my gosh. You threw me up. Okay, so I'm going to be really short on this. What I would want you guys to...
Oh, I'm
sorry, Miss...
So, there you go. So, okay.
What I would like you guys to do... I can't do it! What I'd like you guys to do is actually go and look at our websites, our Facebooks, learn about who we truly are, because we don't cover half of what we are all putting out there. So go and look at that. Even if you are voting for somebody else, look at what else is out there. Just don't look at the tabloid media. Look at what we're bringing to the table for you. The one thing that I do want to say is I am a warrior. I'm a warrior for the citizens. I'm a warrior for the office. The big thing for me is, again, I have gone through the muck. I am not a knight in shining armor. I am not that person. I'm scarred. I've got up. I've continued to fight, and I will continue to fight with you guys. I'm not afraid of the hard talks. I am not afraid of that. You will get the honesty that you deserve, and you'll get the sheriff's office that you want if you vote for me.
You say go. All right, as sheriff, I will provide the level of professionalism the citizens of this county both expect and deserve from their sheriff. Law-abiding citizens should feel safe and secure, and those who choose to do harm should know that they will be held accountable. No one will be above the law. As your next sheriff, your safety will be my priority, and I will accomplish this through proper staffing, proper infrastructure, and thorough investigations. I will hire, retain, and promote people who know what it means to be a public servant. The people of Lewis County deserve complete, thorough, and timely investigations, whether they be cold cases, current cases, or public corruption. No one, again, will be above the law. Lewis County doesn't need another administrator. Lewis County needs a leader, somebody that's going to stand up and fight for them and do what's right, regardless of the cost to themselves, that puts the employees first. So, if that's the sheriff you want, then you vote for me for Lewis County Sheriff.
When we have a new deputy that's looking for employment, we have an oral board. If they make it high enough on the oral board, we have a background investigator that does a background. Each of you have a wonderful or maybe painful job of being that background investigator. You have to look at our histories, whether it's job, whether it's morals, whether it's ethics. You have to look at everything and make that determination. Who is the appropriate person for us to hire as a Lewis County Sheriff? Who is the person that we want to have out there that the rest of the state says, okay, guess what? Lewis County made a wise decision versus what in the world were they thinking? I am just asking you all to, similar to what a gentleman down here said, look at all of our history, our background, whether it's do we have good judgment, bad judgment, and make an informed decision. Now, if your decision is me, awesome. If you make an informed decision and your conscience tells you somebody else, guess what? Vote your conscience. Just make sure you go into it with an open mind and listen to yourself.
Can I use my phone?
No.
So that is the conclusion of our time today. Before we go, I would like to acknowledge, first of all, the effort that these men have put forth, and thank you all for the time and the willingness to serve. That's an amazing statement in and of itself. If you haven't noticed, there's campaign signs over there. Campaign signs cost money. And there's more than one race going in this county, believe it or not. The sheriff's race is not the only race. There are many other races, some of them extremely important to the future of our county. This is just one of those, but it is an important race. So, I'd encourage you to talk to the candidates today when we're done. Pick up some campaign signs to put in your yard. Donate to their campaigns through their websites. You can provide checks, cash, they take anything that spends.
In the back.
And we have the Braun event coming up on June 23rd of this next week. It's actually coming up very quickly. It'll be at Dale Martin's Ranch. If you don't have the information, there's a flyer in the back. We have the commissioner's race, which is, it's so hard to focus with all the stuff going on. That's another very important race that we have to pay attention to. We have Commissioner Brummer here tonight. We have other electeds who are also running. Any other electeds here tonight we need to recognize or who are campaigning? So thank you all for coming, and thank you. Let's give these gentlemen a round of applause. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. If you have time, if you want to set chairs up, that'd be great. Thank you all.